What Happened to the Hippy Man? Written and narrated by Mike Thexton. Chapter 1. Foreword and Forewarning. Early on the 5th of September 1986, 5 Palestinian terrorists, members of the Abu Nidal organisation, seized a Pan Am jumbo jet at Karachi Airport, Pakistan. 4 stormed the plane as it stood on the runway. The 5th, the mastermind, stayed behind outside the airport. In the initial confusion, the flight crew escaped, and the aircraft became a ground-based stronghold. After a couple of hours, they shot a passenger and threw his body out to show they meant business. They picked out another and held him at the front, under threat of execution, to emphasise their demands. The day wore on without a resolution. The auxiliary power unit running the jumbo's electrical systems while on the ground is not supposed to operate for such a long time. After about 15 hours, as evening fell, it failed, and the inside of the plane became dark. The terrorists opened fire on the passengers with automatic weapons and threw hand grenades into the cabins, killing another 19 and injuring many more. The passengers and cabin crew, those who could still move, opened the emergency exits and ran away. This is my account of that day, and afterwards. I'm going to tell a true story of murder and mayhem. Real people are killed and maimed, and yet the comedy of the absurd runs through it. This may seem in bad taste, but there is some grim humour in the bleakest situations. Not that they tend to be so funny at the time. It's easier to look on the light side knowing the outcome. I survived. This won't be a whodunit, nor a did he get out of it. However, I wouldn't like you to think that I was laughing in the face of danger on the day itself. I've told this story to an audience many times over the years, and I have found that my version of gallows humour works in a live performance. It's a bit more difficult in print, and it may come across differently again in an audiobook. We'll see. The best reason for including jokes is that without a bit of humour, this story is plain nasty. It's no fun to tell, and not much fun for an audience to hear or for anyone to read. Lightening it up balances the death and destruction with the strength of human nature to cope. I hope that it won't diminish the tragedy, but rather will make it manageable. I don't intend any disrespect to those who died or were injured, or those who lost someone. Of course, that raises the question, why tell the story at all? If it's that unpleasant to tell and to hear, perhaps it should be left alone. It's certainly not a new story, not a hot scoop. However, it is a good story. People have told me so over the years, and I have seen the expression on their faces while they listen to it. It's a tale with villains and with heroes. Mainly, in fact, with heroines. Their story deserves telling. When I wrote the first version of this book to be printed in 2006, we were in the middle of a so-called war on terror that started with a series of aircraft hijackings. The world seemed to become a more dangerous place as that war went on. The increase in danger may be real or merely perceived, but there are lessons in this story about dealing with terror, and more people might need to know them. I'm now looking back from the perspective of 2023, and 2 of the elements of that war on terror, the American-led attempts to impose something more akin to Western democracy on Iraq and Afghanistan, have unravelled. I'm very happy that plane hijacking is now very rare, but that's mainly because of the enormous efforts that are put into security at airports. At the very least, this book is a reminder to be patient in the X-ray queue, and not to make a fuss when they confiscate your nail scissors. As well as telling what happened, I will include some opinions. When I started writing, I thought that the facts, at least, would be easy and relatively uncontroversial. I was there. No one else could argue much about the facts. But even the facts turn out to be more slippery than I had thought, and in the last 17 years I've learnt new and significant details of a story I believed I had been retelling accurately in the previous 20. If even the facts can be elusive, opinions are downright dangerous. People can get very stirred up about opinions, particularly where terrorism is concerned. But everyone seems to have opinions. Mine come from the perspective that the wrong end of a Kalashnikov gives you, and I think I'm entitled to them. If you don't agree with them, please don't be outraged. They're just opinions, and I have not the slightest influence in the world. There are many other people in this story, but I will not name them except when it's necessary, and where they have agreed. Apart from the hijackers, they didn't choose to be involved in the event, and I won't presume that they want to be involved in my account of it. I'll relate the facts as they concerned me, not from a desire to exclude the others, but just to concentrate on what I know and what I can tell best. There are just a few points where I have borrowed someone else's story, when my own experience wouldn't be enough to get across what it...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?